Hey everybody, I'm Den Haring. My channel's Fish Den 365. Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to Topwater Tuesday. Today we've got the Rebel Jumpin Minnow. And before you discount this bait, you're going to want to watch this video. Okay, so the Rebel Jumpin Minnow is a bait that's been around for a long time, and it's kind of eluded me, or it's just somehow flew under my radar. And somebody reminded me recently about how the saltwater guys love this lure, the inshore anglers, people that fish for snook, stripers, redfish, and they catch a lot of fish on these things. And so if the inshore anglers like these baits and they're catching them a lot of fish, well, then they ought to work in freshwater too. So today we're going to take a look at these. We got two sizes. We have a 4.5 inch and a 3.5 inch. We've got four different colors here. We've got bone in the 3.5 inch. We've got black and silver, classic color, 3.5 inch. We've got something called Chartreuse IU. I really like this color. This is going to be an interesting one to throw. And then we've got another really good color here, Chrome, 4.5 inch. So we got two 4.5 inches, two 3.5 inches. We bought them at Cabela's recently, or Bass Pro, same thing. And we're going to show you now how they work. Now, a lot of people call these things spooks. They're not a spook. They're not a Zara spook. They're different than that. They don't work the same, and they're quite a bit different actually. So if you think it's exactly the same as a spook, it's not. The wind's blowing now, hopefully it won't be too noisy. The difference is the way the bait sits in the beginning. The Zara spook sits more like this. This bait almost sits straight up and down, so that when you work it, it's a bobbing bait. It bobs up and down. Now you walk the dog with this and it walks really good. It has a nice walking action, but it's a bobbing walking action. It actually goes under the water slightly and then bobs back up. Under the water slightly and bobs back up. So you can walk it, and you can see in the video here I'm walking it different ways. This is one of those baits I actually prefer the action fast or moderate. The slower action tends to kind of wipe out a little bit and do more of this bobbing, which could work. I mean, it could be really good, I don't know. But for me, fishing it fast or medium retrieve gives it that real nice side to side, walk the dog, dip and bob action. And I'm looking forward to fishing this for stripers at night come in another month or so. Now, they're very noisy, especially the big ones. Even with the wind, I'm sure you can hear that. They're very noisy bait. The little one, a little less noisy, not nearly as loud. So more subtle on the smaller 3.5 inch lure. Kind of gives you some different options. You can throw two different sizes, and you're actually throwing two different lures because the sound is quite different from that point of view. So take a look here, we'll show you on the water. The one thing I noticed is that, like I said, the bait sits like this. The action, the consistency between same baits is pretty good, pretty much the same, especially on the 4.5 inch, and the consistency on the 3.5 inch is pretty similar as well. So I have to play around with these because these get quite a few positive reviews, especially among striper fishermen, which is always an interest of mine. And there's some smallmouth guys out there who like it quite a bit as well, especially the smaller size. And there's a lot of video out there with this thing in use catching stripers, especially inshore. And so I'm looking forward to throwing this from our freshwater stripers. I'm sure it'll work for that as well in the not too distant future. Well, let me know what you think of the Rebel Jumpin Minnow. I know some of you like this bait. One of you mentioned it as something that you definitely want to have from Rebel. We talked about a Rebel frog a little while ago. That was more gimmicky. But a couple of you mentioned that this bait is not a gimmick and it's a good bait. And I believe that it is. I'm looking forward to fishing it. I've never fished it before. This is the first I've owned the bait, and did a little research, found out it gets high reviews for those inshore guys. You saw how it worked here on the water. Let me know what you think of the Rebel Jumpin Minnow. If you have any experience with it, please comment in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, keep your line in the water, and as always, may God bless your fishing endeavors.